Hey, alrighty, it's episode 17 of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Myself, Jason Martinez, Anthony Sanfilippo from Crossing Broadcast, Snow the Goalie, and much more going to join us momentarily. Let me tell you about Bet Parks. Great time to get on the Bet Parks app and get in on the action. Tons to bet on hockey. How about hoops, college and pro football. You've got college basketball at this point as well. Tons to bet on. Soccer, international soccer. You name it, it's all there for you. So grab the new Bet Parks app, and it's everything you want in a mobile casino and sportsbook. Simple to use, easy to open an account, fast deposits, easy payouts, all of it's there. And it's going to make games that usually mean nothing to you mean something to you. And all new and existing users right now can use the promo code JASON750, JASON 750. That'll get you that risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions do apply. And Wednesday, we'll also have the Broad Street Boost. So we'll have another boost for you coming up as well. So download the Bet Parks app today. You do need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Seriously, the fucking trash truck out there again, like in the middle of the show. Why does this happen all the time on Mondays? Anyway, let me tell you about also Conquerville Subaru, because they're awesome. Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Award winner back in 2015, the inaugural. They've got 8 years supporting Nemours Children's Hospital of Delaware. They've continued to adopt the classrooms, 15 classrooms in Marcus Hook Elementary School, donating $500 to each for classroom supplies. They continue the donation of thousands of coats to La Humanidad España in Kennett Square. They've done that for 10 years, and they continue that as well. It's a great time to check out the awesome showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills, and check out the certified pre-owned inventory and a list of incoming Subaru vehicles. Great dealership, great service department. Get a free car wash with every visit. Check out all the details at ConquervilleSubaru.com online, and check out the showroom again on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember, Concordville cares. Let's go to him right now from Crossing Broad, the Snow the Goalie podcast. He does it all. He covers it all, and he covers it all extremely well. He is the one and only Anthony Sanfilippo. What's going on, Ant?
How's it going, Jay? Good to see you, man.
I feel so much fucking better.
Yeah?
I feel like I'm over this cold. I may hit the mute button a few times to cough, but I am buzzing today.
Good.
It figures I feel better, and the team is not winning.
That's what it is. Well, that's the correlation.
Yes.
Right?
I feel like shit they're winning.
Things are returning to normal, where we all expected them to be. You expect to feel pretty good, and you expect the team to not be great. So, I mean, there we go. We're back to where we're getting back to where everybody thinks things should be. You know,
the weird thing about it, Ant, though, is that I think the team has played better hockey over the past week and a half and gotten a worse result than when they were winning games and getting a good result.
Yeah. Well, it is
It's
weird,
hockey.
but it is. It's part of the game, right? I mean, so I think what you're seeing happen, where it was earlier, the goalies were just so outstanding, that they masked so many of the mistakes that the players were making in front of them. And now the team's making less mistakes in front of the goalies, but at the same time, you can't expect the goalies to maintain that level. I mean, save percentages in the 950s, I think Carter Hart was at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just otherworldly. You can't expect, he's going to regress a little bit, right? I mean, even if he's having a better than his normal year, he's still going to come back down from that. And so, like,
920 is an absurd year. 950 is like otherworldly.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, even in the last 2 games, he gave up 6 goals in his last 2 starts. That's not terrible. I mean, and when you look at those goals, I wouldn't sit there and go, "Oh man, Carter should have had that." I don't think there any one of those 6 goals. I sit there and say, "What? Maybe one."
The first Gaudreau goal, he's off angle.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah,
too much. Yep,
yeah,
that's the only one.
Okay. So the other 5, really not on him at all.
Yep.
And so you look at it and say, well, all right, that's not terrible. But keep in mind, he had only allowed 17 goals in the 7 starts before that, right? I mean, so that's just goes to show how great he had been playing. So when you have the goalies just coming back to normal just a little bit, even though the team is playing better, it's going to get you, those results where they're giving up more goals now than maybe they were earlier in the season.
Yeah, because there's no margin, because you don't have a team that can outscore mistakes in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
The funny thing is, before Carter played his 9th game, which I think was on Saturday, he and Jake Ottinger were the top two in save percentage in the NHL. Ottinger had played 7 games. Carter had played 8, but Carter saw 110 more shots than Ottinger. Like, that's crazy for a 1-game difference. 110.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. And it's funny, Jamie. Every year we talk about the beginning of a hockey season, right? And usually the first month, October, you usually see a lot of high scoring games because the offense is usually ahead of the defense in a system, right?
And coaching,
right? And the goalies need a little bit of time to really kind of ramp up as well. So usually that first month is a lot more high scoring games, and the Flyers weren't in those. The Flyers, I mean, they had a couple that were a little bit higher than you think, but a lot of the Flyers games were kind of like normal. And so that's what was kind of funny is like, they're not playing like a team that comes out of the gate. I mean, most teams come out of the gate. They're playing like it's 30, 40 games into the season already. And that was a credit to their the shape that they're in. I mean, we know Camp really put these guys in good hockey shape. So that was good, but then at the same time, you sit there and said something's got to start to click offensively, because if it doesn't, this is going to start to turn. This worm is going to turn. They can't maintain this. Yeah, and we're starting to see it a little bit now in these last few games.
Let me ask you this, Ant, because like you've just said, Carter in particular goalied a lot of teams in the beginning of the season, where it was just a stolen win by the goalie, and that's what the position can do. But let me ask you about the Columbus game in particular. And the game against Ottawa, did they get goalied in those games? Because I thought Korpisalo was really good, but Columbus was allowing the second most goals per game at 4.58 heading into that. And then Saturday against Ottawa, I think they were like 11th in the league in goals allowed per game. Talbot hadn't played a lot already this year, but he looked really good on Saturday. Did they get goalied, or was that a thing where they made a goalie look like you got goalied?
Yeah, I mean, I think that. Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think Korpisalo, I think, played a much stronger full game than Talbot had to. Even though Talbot had 37 saves or whatever he had. Yeah. I thought that the Flyers were strong for about a period and a half against Ottawa. And then beyond that, I thought that the game was kind of really good defensively both ways until the Flyers started taking penalties. At the end of the second period, beginning of the third period, and they give up the 2 goals that kind of make up the difference in the game. So I think that there was a lot of the Flyers. They got their shots. And they were looking to get shots, but they weren't all high percentage chances. And I think that Talbot had a lot more easier saves than Korpisalo did. I think Korpisalo played a better complete game. But the difference between the 2 games is the mistakes the Flyers make in Columbus are turning the puck over at bad times, really just not, giving Columbus great chances that they capitalize on. And in the Ottawa game, it's lack of discipline and then special teams not coming through. Yeah. And then if you push forward even ahead to the Dallas game, which in fairness, I'll be blunt, I didn't watch the whole game. I was not down there yesterday. I couldn't make it down yesterday, but I did see some of it. And what I saw was, again, special teams just not there. I mean, the power play gives up the shorthanded goal, and the power play just looks lost to me right now. I don't know what they're going to do to fix it. I mean, they don't have the offensive talent, but
just aren't finishers.
There's nobody there, man. It's just nothing. And it looks like that they're trying to get Owen Tippett the puck in space and saying, "Hey, kid, shoot." Yeah. But that's that. Beyond that, I don't think there's much else there on the power play. And then penalty kill, although it had been really good to start the year, last few games has just kind of been meh. So, I mean, I think if you really want to look at where the 3 games have gone wrong, I think that's what it is. It's been dumb mistakes, untimely penalties, and now special teams failing them. And that's their 3 straight losses.
The PK, I think, is just the goaltending was so ridiculous that your goaltender needs to be your best penalty killer, and it was. Right. And when you're stopping everything, then it's going to make the PK structure in front of you all of a sudden look better because the result is better. But the thing is, with the Columbus game, I said this after the Columbus game, that I looked at that game and I go, they outplayed Columbus. They did a lot of good things in that game, but they made highly consequential mistakes. And they made highly consequential mistakes against the wrong people on the ice for the opposition. Like every time they made a horrible turnover, they had 4 in the game. They paid the price for 3, and Gaudreau's line was on the ice for all of them. Like you got to be aware that when he's out there, you cannot put the puck in peril. And they did too many times. And I think the one that really irked me was because after that first period, they give up 2 on the neutral zone giveaway and then just inside the Columbus blue line. And Torts peeled the paint off the walls about protecting the puck and not putting the puck in the middle of the ice in consequential areas. And then 37 seconds into the second period, they get scored on another turnover. So I think that one, first minute of the period, you hate giving up a goal. And then to give up a goal in the same fashion in which you gave up the 2 in the first, I think probably pissed Torts off quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely did. And that's the thing. I mean, that's you wonder why everyone wonders why Torts didn't want to come out and talk after the game. And does he want to come out and destroy his players after he's defended them as much as he has?
Yeah.
In a game where they really just if I look at the rankings of bad games this year, next to the San Jose loss where they were just asleep for the entire game against the Sharks, a bad Sharks team, that Columbus loss is probably their next worst loss. But I would bet you that Tortorella looks at it and says that it's worse than the San Jose game, because at least in the San Jose game, they didn't compete. In the Columbus game, they could have won.
Yeah.
They could have won without
wounds, though.
Yeah, could have won without the mistakes, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why, he's like, you know what? I don't want to go out there and now have to start killing guys who I've been saying all week long and for the last 2 weeks have been playing great hockey, have been competing hard, have been doing the right things, doing the little things. It was funny because after the win against St. Louis, I asked Torts a question about, those little things, the way that those guys are playing, and gave me a great answer. I pulled Zach McEwen separately, did a one-on-one with him because he's one of those guys that kind of fits that under the radar mold that Tortorella really likes the way that those guys are playing. I talked to him about it a little bit. And it was like, oh, this is going to make a great story. And then of course they go out and play like ass in those moments in the last 3 games. I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to have to hold off on this a little bit. But the fact of the matter is that's how this team has to play to win. They have to do the structural small things and have them add up to rewards. And if they do, they'll win games. And this is what Tortorella says things like, you may not play the best game for 60 minutes, but if you play the right way and play hard and compete constantly, sometimes you can win a game when you only play 35, 40 minutes of good hockey. And this is what he's talking about. And so the Flyers have had a couple of those games where they won, where maybe they weren't the better team, or maybe they didn't play a full 60 minutes, but because they stuck with it and just kept doing the things that they had to do, they were able to get results. Right now, they're a little off and they're not getting the results. And so the danger now lies with this team, because we know how fragile it could be, is can it right itself to say, okay, this was just a bad 3-game stretch, or does this blossom into one of those patented, 10-game losing streaks, which they've made famous over the last few years?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, now I wonder, I think the most fascinating part of this season, Ant, is the mental part of this season, because of the coach, because of the players, and because of the situation. Every player on this team at some point, I think, is going to be in that position of not getting the amount of minutes they think they deserve, being scratched, not playing a period, whatever it is, not being on a power play or a PK or something like that. Because I think that touch point is going to hit everybody on the team. It's how each guy responds when it's their turn. Like, I think TK, after the San Jose game that you mentioned, he doesn't play the third period. I think he responded incredibly well.
Yep.
I think he's just been like, you know what? Okay, I get it. And I think that he's played really diligent hockey. Even when he hasn't been scoring, I think he's been effective in playing, tilting the ice as best he can and doing his part. And then the other part of it is, okay, they were winning. They weren't playing great. But now that they have got 3 losses in a row, how do they react to that? To me, all the cerebral elements of this season are what's the most intriguing. Do you agree with Torzo? He said yesterday after the loss against on Sunday that, it's not – he's like, I'll defend those guys because they're playing hard. And I think they are playing hard. I think we're just running into a situation where you see the lack of high-end talent on the team. Do you agree that they've been playing hard and that's not part of the conversation, where that was the conversation the last couple of years at times?
Yeah, I do. I do think that they are playing hard. Again, I got to give the caveat that I didn't see the entirety of Sunday's game against Dallas, and you see a 5-1 final and you think, well, geez, that can't be close. But it seemed like it got away at the end, right? I mean,
yeah.
It was more that, I watched the end of the first period and all the second period is what I saw of the game. I had two different family things I had to do, and I couldn't be there for the beginning or the end of the game. But so I didn't think that, from what I saw, I thought that they competed and played hard. You can't. There were issues. I mean, you go 0 for 6 on the power play. You can't go 0 for 6 on the power play.
Yeah.
I don't care how weak your power play is. You got to get one of those.
Yeah.
At least one. Right? I mean, come on. I mean, just 1 out of 6. That's not.
They did have a power play in the third period that you missed. You should go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It was. I said at the time when the power play expired, the puck was in the zone the entire 2 minutes. I said that's the best Flyers power play I've seen in 5 years that didn't score a goal. I mean, Tony DeAngelo is working off the half wall, then the high point. It was a great power play.
Yeah.
Which didn't score.
They didn't score. Then they give up. They give up 2 power play goals, and they give up a shorty. Right.
A shorty, so,
yeah. So I mean, that's the game. I mean, and then of course, as think about how fortunate we've been to watch 2 of the best face-off guys over the last decade, right? In Couturier and Giroux, and now all of a sudden they're losing 75% of their face-offs.
You ever seen a number like that?
You can't lose
43 to 15. Holy fuck!
You can't lose that. You can't, because that possession is so important. The puck is the game, man. I mean, you got to win those. At least some of them. I mean, even if you're behind, even if you're not going to win 55, 60%, if you at least win 40%, 45%, maybe it's a different game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was nuts too.
Brian Smith looked it up. They've never had a face-off game where they've lost that many face-offs.
Dallas was it just seemed like, again, watching 30 minutes of the game, 25 minutes of the game, it just seemed like every time there was a stoppage, as soon as it started back up, Dallas had the puck. And you can't keep chasing that game that way. Yeah. I mean, even if it's a tie game, you can't keep chasing the team down and trying to get the puck. You're playing back to back, right?
Yeah.
You're expending a lot of energy trying to go get the puck and get it and go back 200 feet the other way. It's tough. You got to win those draws. That's draw. I think it's a very underrated statistic to look at, especially when a team has played a lot, because that will dictate just how much more energy you have to expend
to get the puck back.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, face-off doesn't always determine possession. Some of them are cleanly won back, clear defined possession. But a face-off win also, to me, defines the team that's got the best chance of getting possession.
Correct.
And winning possession. And it's not just centers, it's wingers and D that got to be ready to go when the pucks drop, because that determines it a lot, because it becomes a 50-50. And look, if you win, I mean, I've never seen a number where a team wins that many. It's almost like you're trying to lose fucking draws.
I know, you're right. I mean, that's the thing. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because I don't want to make it seem like it's the 4 guys who are taking the draws that just suck. Because they could tie up the other center and the puck's sitting there in a circle, and one of the other 4 guys has to go get it.
Yep.
Go get it
behind your center and support.
Yeah, win that puck, and they didn't. And so that's a thing that's, maybe the team is just tired.
Yeah.
They had 3 games in 4 days, a little bit of travel, and
5 and 8. Yeah.
5 and 8, a little bit of travel in there. Now they go out on the road again. Maybe this is a road trip that they need.
I said that yesterday. I totally agree.
I mean, get away from home, let's get out on the road again, just us and just, our little focus group here, and, get it back together again. And because if not, I mean, look, they're 7-6-2. This is a far better record than any of us thought they'd have through 15 games.
Yep.
Okay. It really is. Even though that's one more loss than win, because I count overtime losses as losses, because that's what the L stands for in OTL. Okay. I don't care what anybody in the NHL will tell me.
I hate this stupid loser.
The L stands for loss, so it's a loss.
Yeah.
Not winless.
Don't give me
streak.
hockey 500. Give me wins and losses. Enough.
That's the thing. I can't. It burns me up that I have to write winless streak as opposed to losing streak.
Yeah.
Okay. It burns me up that I have to put that because then don't put the fucking L in OTL.
Yeah.
It's an overtime loss, but it doesn't count as a loss. I hate the NHL for that.
It's a loss.
It's a loss.
If the other team's got more goals on that board when you leave the ice,
it's a loss.
You lost the game.
You lost. That said, you gotta give them credit for being where they are. Mm-hmm. But it can. Remember last year, at the start of the season, they had an okay record.
Same thing.
Right around this time is when it started to go to shit. Yeah. Right.
Once the sample size starts, water finds its level.
Exactly. And it started to go really bad around this time of year. The coach got fired. I think it was early December when they fired. God, it's been so long. He's already going. Like, names already going. Names already out of my head. You're gonna make me suffer, aren't you, Vino?
Oh, AV, yeah.
They're gonna make. It's been. I think it was early December when they fired him, right?
Yep.
And
December 13th, I believe.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, this is the time, and so you look at that schedule and you say, okay, I know it's not. I mean, Columbus, you think you're a better team than them? Can you win that game? Yeah, Boston's going to be a tough game Thursday night. We know that. We know that they're a hammer. That's a truck store. That's a truck stop there. That's tough. Yeah. Montreal
should be winnable.
It should be winnable.
Yep. Good environment on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, so I mean, there's some games here coming up. And you say, okay, and then even if you look ahead to next week, I mean, even Calgary's been a little bit, less than maybe people thought. Washington's down to start the year, although I still think that they'll rebound. Pittsburgh, holy hell! I mean, I think that collapse is finally going to happen this year.
Credit card bill came due with interest.
Yeah, we've been waiting for it. Yeah. And then a home and home with the Islanders. I mean, who have been good, but not.
It's not a murderer's row.
Right. Exactly.
But then again, this last week wasn't a murderer's row either with Ottawa.
Columbus,
St. Louis,
yeah.
Columbus.
Well, St. Louis should be better than they are.
I agree,
and they're not. And Dallas, I think Dallas is a legit. I think they're a cup contender this year, right?
Yeah, they got the goalie, and I think their coach Pete DeBoer does a great job in year one everywhere he goes.
Yeah. But I mean, but still, if you look ahead, and I know it's a lot of games in a short period of time, but you're looking at what 8 games in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can you go? Can you win 5 of them?
Yeah,
or even
go like 3-3-2,
or can you go 4-3-1? If you're even still, I mean, if you're doing something like if you're doing 3-3-2, let's say you go 3-3-2, you're still a kind of a 500 team after Thanksgiving, and we've always had this conversation too, Jay, at the Black Friday game. If you're in a playoff position on Black Friday,
80%,
I think it's like 80% of the time, you make the playoffs.
Yep.
So
and if you're not, you don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Inversely. Yep.
So it's this is a week for them to really kind of get into a good spot, try and get catch up a little bit. They're not that far behind, and if you get there and you sit there, go okay. Then after that, maybe we're sitting down there against the Penguins on Black Friday and saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe this team can hang in there for the rest of the season.
Maybe get Atkinson back and.
Well, that's a question mark.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that. There's other question marks too of guys that are playing, like Ristolainen, that I got to talk about too, because he has not been good. Yeah. But from the injury standpoint, what's your reporting on the latest on Atkinson and Couturier?
So I haven't reported anything on Atkinson yet. I'm about to. So maybe I'll give it a little something here on your show. What I'm hearing is that. It's kind of a conflicting story, but I've finally been able to nail down why I haven't been able to report this is because it's one thing could lead to the other, and that's why I'm getting a conflicting story from multiple people. So his injury is in his shoulder. Believe it's a labrum injury. The Flyers have chosen, and I guess with Atkinson signing off on this. This is, obviously, player makes his own health decisions, but they've chosen to go the route of rest, rehab, physical therapy rather than surgery.
Rather than repair. Okay.
Yeah, to try and get him back as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
He's now missed a month of the season.
Yep. 15
if he's going to come back, you're probably looking at least another couple weeks before he gets to that level. If they don't get to that point within the next couple weeks, then they have to consider repair.
Yeah, and
if you're talking about repairing a labrum, that's not a short injury for hockey.
No,
it's longer for hockey than it is any other sport. And again, that's because of the way you shoot the puck and pull your stick back and everything else. Is a lot of
stress you put on it.
A lot of stress you put on the labrum. It's even, believe it or not, it's almost more than like a pitcher in a lot of ways. I mean, pitchers come at a different angle. They come over the top a little bit, so the tear is a little bit different for a pitcher than it is for a hockey player, depending on how it was torn. We don't know how it was torn, or if it's actually technically torn. It probably is. You don't miss a month if it's not.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if it gets to that point where he's not, able to get back, and they say we got to get surgery, then you're missing Atkinson and Couturier pretty much for the season.
Yeah, it's unbelievable
at that point.
Yeah,
and Coots, and just to follow up, you asked me about him.
Yeah,
I mean, they said 3 to 4 months after the second surgery, which is in line with what I first reported back in September. I'll tell you, unless they're in it, there's no reason for him to come back.
No,
there's no reason other than maybe if you feel. And I have to stress this: if you feel 100% certain that he's not going to hurt himself, it's not going to re-injure the back at that point. If
and let's just predicate this: you can't feel 100%.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
But you know what I mean. I mean, it's like, okay, we're really confident that he's going to go out there and he'll be fine. That another 3 months, 4 months, 5 months off is not going to make a difference. He's going to be the same then that he is now.
Yeah.
If you want to just get him back out there just to get him some games, because it's been 1.5 years since he played.
Yeah, knock it off a little bit.
I can see that, but again, it's got to be the exact right circumstance for it. So that, to me, I think that he's in a situation where it really depends on where the team is, whether or not we see Couturier play at all this season.
Yeah, I ran into him yesterday before the Dallas game. He was there with his wife and kids, daughter, and talked to him real briefly. He said he's feeling a lot better, feeling good. So that's good to see. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you hope to get him back, and there's so much tied into him.
Now, the other injury I can give you, I think, a slight update on is Allison. I think Allison's not as bad as it looked.
Yeah, it looked horrific.
yeah. From what I understand,
he left the ice.
From what I understand, it's going to be a couple weeks, but it's only going to be a couple weeks. It's not going to be extended.
Yeah.
So
that's good news.
Yeah, and
he's played pretty well.
It's not the injury that I think a lot of people think it is either. So I can't say what it is, but I've been told not to put that one out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about Ristolainen, because boy, what an erratic start to the season. I don't even want to say erratic, just not a good start. Erratic would indicate that there's been high points and low points, but I don't think there has been that. He missed some time in camp, missed the beginning of the season, and he has not gotten his legs under him in any way, shape, or form just yet.
I thought the only game he really played well was the Columbus game.
I do too. He seems like he's overplaying situations outside the dots, Ant. Like he doesn't have a lot of structure and a lot of confidence in where he wants to be on the ice or what he wants to be on the ice under Tortorella. What are you saying?
Well, and I think that what I liked about him last year, and I know a lot of people didn't like about him, but what I liked about him last year was I really felt that he was comfortable playing with Sanheim, that he liked going out there with the same guy every shift, knowing where he's going to be at all times, and kind of, doing his thing. Yeah. Would he occasionally, go for a hit and take himself out of a play or whatever? Yes. That's Rasmus Ristolainen. That's what he does. But now I feel like not only does he feel like lost in his own game, but I feel like he doesn't have the confidence in who he's playing with, because he's been bounced around.
Yeah.
He's not with the same guy every shift. And this is kind of more like the Buffalo Ristolainen and not the Ristolainen we saw for stretches last year. And that's not good. That's not good. I mean, I still think that there's something there. I still think that there's a player there that works here, but he's certainly not a guy that has endeared himself to the coach. And as a result, we're getting a very inconsistent version of him and mostly on a third pair. I mean,
that kind of money's too much money to be on a third pair.
It just is. It's like, I don't know. It's not making any sense to me right now.
Let me look this up because Jared messaged and it says with Muzzin on the shelf for the foreseeable future. I don't know if you saw the report on him today.
Yeah,
not good. Would it be worthwhile for Fletcher to call Dubas about a trade for a D? And he goes, I think Ristolainen will be a likely candidate. Now, when I first read what Jared said there, I thought, well, maybe like Provorov or something like let's go big, let's swing for Marner. Blah blah blah. You're not going to do that right now. That's not going to happen in season. But Ristolainen would bring to them an element that they don't have.
Right.
A, D, B, a lot of fucking grit and toughness. And because that team needs that bad. And with Muzzin out, they need it even more.
Yeah. That's a big loss for the Leafs.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you don't, get this tremendous return in that deal. Like you're not getting a Nylander or something like that.
Right.
But you do get a lot of relief.
Well, the question is, can Toronto take it on? Yeah. I guess if you put Muzzin on LTIR,
yeah,
you probably could, right?
And then in the offseason, you got to make some kind of moves there with the Nylander or something like that.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's the one thing with that. The one thing I was told, another thing I was told last week was that, and not that they're actively doing this, but that the Flyers are keeping their eye out there for teams who might suddenly make a forward available. I don't think that they're happy with their group up front. And it's interesting because, again, we're getting a mixed message. We heard the GM talk about how they're going to have all these young players, and these young players are going to play, and they're going to develop, and it's going to be exciting. They're excited to watch them play. I'm excited to see them be a big part of the action. And then Tortorella's had pretty much a short leash with almost every young forward on his team, with the exception of like Owen Tippett and Wade Allison when he's been in the lineup.
Yeah.
And you look at everybody goes me and Meltzer are going back and forth about Morgan Frost, but it's not just him. It's Lushinsky's not really getting much.
He just got sent down today.
Much ice time, then he gets sent down, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. I think that we're getting a different version of the Flyers than even we were told we were going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because Tortorella wants to win. I think he looks at this and says, I can win with some of these guys, but some of these guys need to be playing in the AHL in order for me to do that. And in order for them to get better, they can't be developing at the NHL level.
Yeah.
So
I can't give them the minutes here to do it.
Exactly. I mean, Morgan Frost is not a fourth line center.
No.
And look, I'm not a big Morgan Frost guy. I haven't been. This is not anything new. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh man, why aren't you giving Morgan Frost a chance?" I think that the Morgan Frost ship sailed last year, in my mind. Although he did play well at the end of the year, I saw more. The more consistent Morgan Frost was the bad Morgan Frost than the good Morgan Frost.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know what good he does serving you as a fourth line center. Like either send him down and let him figure it out, or move on. Like there's other.
It benefits you more to get him playing well in a higher position in the lineup, either in the AHL or NHL, than it does as a fourth line player, because then you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I don't know what the purpose is there.
Yeah.
And then even still, another thing is like, maybe you say he hasn't earned power play time, but okay, fine. But are we expecting, and look, and I think McEwen's a hardworking kid, right? Are we expecting Zach McEwen to score a bunch of goals on the power play?
No. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Even a guy like Scotty Lawton.
He's not on the power play.
Even a guy like Scotty, I love Lawton. Great guy, great team guy. Is Scott Lawton a better chance to score on a power play than Morgan Frost? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like I think that if the kid's got skill, offensive skill, Don't waste it because he's not quite quote unquote earned that power play opportunity.
Yeah.
Try
See
it.
if you can unlock it by putting him on it.
Yeah, maybe that gives him some confidence. Maybe that changes things a little bit. I don't know. And if you're not going to, so to me, if you're not going to play him in a higher role, then he doesn't belong on the roster.
Yeah.
And if you don't think he belongs on the roster, send him down.
So if you're looking at a player to acquire a forward that may be available, there's a guy out in Vancouver that a lot of
is scoring a shit ton. Are you talking about Bo Horvat?
Yeah, I'm talking about, and he's on an expiring deal. And I just think, like, somebody asked me about him last week, and I said, I love the player because he's a leader, he's center.
I was going to bring him up today, Jay. I swear to God, I had a whole thing here because I was looking at it, and I can't believe that he's second in the NHL in goals behind. I mean, everybody's talking about McDavid. Right? Oh, McDavid's got 15 goals. Bo Horvat's got 13.
Yeah, and he's a good leader. All those things. But he's on an expiring deal. You go, are you going to make a trade? Because if you're going to trade for Bo Horvat, you're going to have to go 2023 first round. And to me, that doesn't make any sense to do that when I can go, I'm not giving up anything for him. If I really want him, I'll sign him in the offseason. I'll dump a shitload of money on him. Why give up draft equity in this draft to go get Bo Horvat now? Like, I love the player. I love the idea, but it doesn't make any sense when you're a team that's not, that could be in the fucking lottery. I know you can protect the pick, but geez.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, I'll tell you, I go way back to when I worked for the team. They sent me on a trip to do a big feature on Anthony Stolarz when he was at with the London Knights.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent about 10 days, or I think it was 9 days, as they were going into their playoffs, and just going back and forth from London to, I forget where it was, somewhere in Michigan. I forget what the team was that was in the OHL that was in Michigan at the time. Anyway, just going back and forth and following him around and talking to him and as he's getting prepared for the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. They made that long run with him. But he had Bo Horvat on that team. And dude was the man there. Like, I mean, he's
a total London fucking night kid.
He was the guy. Like, I mean, he ran that locker. He ran that locker room. And it's all Stoll. You talked about it. He said, when I was talking about the team in front of him and everything, he's like, it all goes through Bo. It's all Bo. And he wasn't even the best player on the team, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He was, I mean, everybody knew he was going to be an NHL player. He was going to be a decent draft pick. But there were I forget who else they had on the team that were high-scoring wingers and another high-scoring. So I got to go back and look at that roster. It was so good. But it was all Horvat. And I sat there and said, this is a kid I would love to get in Philly.
Yeah.
And now here we are, all these years, 10 years later, saying, yeah, would you? And I'd say, yeah, 10 years ago, I loved him at 18. I'll take him now.
Yeah. Fuck. I mean, you imagine Gargano if he's here? Come on, Bo.
Come on, Bo.
We got Larry Bo, Ricky Bo, Bo Horvat. You could have a Bo parade.
There you go.
Shit, that's horrible. Yeah, that's Max funny. Domi was on that team. Mitch Marner was on that team.
Marner was the best scorer on that team. That's who, yeah.
Yeah. Nikita Zadorov on that squad. Christian Dvorak.
And they had the other kid that was the defenseman that was with Pittsburgh for a while. I don't think he's in the league anymore. Finnish kid. What was his name?
I'm trying to see. I'm looking at
I think it was a first-round pick by the Penguins, I believe.
Yeah, that's a good team. Those London teams are always good, man.
They were unbelievable. Oli Mata, that's who I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, Oli Mata was on that team. Yeah, he was on the 2011 team, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Last thing for you, Ant.
Yeah.
TK on the PK. TK with a TKO. I'm getting all these shirts made. I'm gonna start the Crossing Broad TK store.
There you go.
But fuck it, he has been so good, Ant. I look at one player that go, there's been little stretches where I go, yeah, he's been great, or he's turned the puck over. but he adds a little risk into his game, and he needs to be effective. But overall, like, I see this dude just working his bag off. And even when he's not scoring, I think he's been a player of consequence on the ice. Like, he's, for all the, the hot takery of this team has no talent. I mean, they have talent. I think Provorov bounced back in a decent way. D'Angelo obviously has talent. There's other players out there with talent. To me, TK's been the obviously the catalyst for almost everything they've done good.
Well, yeah. I mean, and not only that, I mean, you go back to when he was an all-star in 1920, and that was his best season of his career.
24 goals in 66 games.
Well, but he did. I mean, he had 24 goals 3 years in a row, but that was the year did it in 66 games, 61 points. Whatever. Yep. I mean, it was, he disappeared in the playoffs and didn't score, but that regular season he was maybe their best player. Him and Giroux, obviously, Couturier. That line was so good. And then since then, it's just not been the same.
Yep.
And then last year, I thought he was really not right. Even though he had 52 points, I just thought that he was so off. And I know it's only 15 games, Jay, but 17 points in 15 games for Konechny is a pace that's going to get him well beyond 1920.
Yeah.
And 6 goals is not going to jump off the page at you. But at the same time, when you really put it together and you look at it, it's an over 30 goal season, right? It's probably 34, 35.
Yep.
You're looking at like a pace for like 86 points. He's got to be considered the Flyers' potential all-star.
Yep.
I mean, obviously him and Hart, right? Yep. I mean, so yeah, like, I mean, really, and it's funny because you sit there and say, of the veteran players, who are the ones that are going to respond best to Tortorella and which ones are not going to respond best to him? And I was kind of 50-50 with TK.
Me too.
I kind of thought there's a chance
you and I talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, there's a chance he does, and he really develops, and it's great. And then there's also, and I know that's kind of a hedge, but like, other guys I was more one way or the other, but he was the one guy I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, he was a coin flip to me. Yep,
yeah,
total.
Yep. And he's responded, and maybe it took that, like you had mentioned earlier in the show, maybe it took that third period benching against San Jose to kind of wake him up to the way he has to play for this coach. And because he's been great since.
And I know he went to the coach after that benching and, wanted to talk about it and why. And boy, to me, he's a player that's a pleaser. Like, he wants to please his coach, and he's in such great physical condition. Like, if he's going to play his way, his style of play, he's got to be in great condition because he's got to fly all over the place, and he's got to have muscle on him to protect himself because he's not a huge body.
Right.
So I just see a guy that's playing with such great energy, never letting down. And even when he's not creating offense, he's being consequential on the ice in the things that he's doing. So, and I think it's really important for him, Ant, when it all shakes out, that he gets a letter on his jersey, because I think he's a guy that will fall into the vested category of having a letter and really give it the diligence and importance that it needs to have. And I think it helps him.
I think you're right. I mean, and that's one of the things I really like about the coach is that he lets the leaders kind of develop under him.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be that guy and who doesn't want to be that guy. And I think that you're certainly seeing it with TK at the moment, that this is the guy that he really wants to embrace this role. And maybe he wasn't sure if he ever did. Maybe he never looked at himself as that kind of guy, as I'm going to be a leadership type guy, or maybe I'll be like secondary in the leadership group.
I think he felt that way when Giroux was here. Now he doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, and I think he feels a little bit more emboldened,
empowered.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think D'Angelo's that way too, Ant. Like, he wants to grab a piece of this leadership too.
Well, I think he wants to play. I mean, he likes playing here.
Yeah,
he seems happy, man. Like, how you've known
He's
Tony
a fucking gamer, man.
Or you've known him a long time, right? I mean, has he ever seemed happier than he is right now?
No,
That's the thing.
The team's playing okay,
Yeah.
And that's going to affect him. Like he's a highly emotional player, which I think is something that they have lacked, man. They need a guy that gets fucking pissed when things go wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
and is not afraid to stand in the block to, this is fucking unacceptable. Like, we got to wake up, you know. Yeah. They need a player to do it. Coaches doing that, AV doing that, Scott Gordon or Hack. That's one thing. When a guy stands up in that room and is like, what the fuck? You know, I think that means way more, and he'll do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think you're starting to see who that leadership group is going to be. Mm-hmm. I wonder if at any other point beyond this season, if anybody else gets a letter.
I don't think so.
Is it just going to be Lawton with the 1A the whole year?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it's curious. That's a curious thing to me. I'm sure that they're holding one out for Coots.
Yeah. Or Atkinson.
Or both.
Yeah.
Maybe that's who he wanted it to be to start the season, them three with the A's.
Yeah.
And then without them, it's like, okay, let's see if anybody else develops. And I think you're right. The two guys at the top of that list are probably Travis Konechny and Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah, no doubt. And this was awesome, man. Go back to work. Thanks for doing this, brother. We'll be reading your stuff from Crossing Broad. Snow the goalie.
Yep.
Crossing Broadcast. You got it all going on. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, pal. Anytime.
There he is. Anthony Sanfilippo on Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Great. I love talking hockey, man. You know, we've been talking hockey, hey and I, for years. Now we just get to do it, and everybody gets to hear it and be a part of it. So thanks to Anthony for joining us. Check out Snow the Goalie and also all his work on crossingbroad.com. Bet Parks, that's the place to go to get all your action in on all the different sports, whether it's same game parlays, live in-game betting, player performances, first to score, exact score, you name it. It's all there for you on football, college and pro, hockey, hoops, college and pro, international soccer. F1's going to wrap up the season in Abu Dhabi at Yas Marina this week. You name it. All there for you on the BetParks app. So download the app today. We'll give you the Broad Street Boost coming up on Wednesday's show as well. So download the BetParks app today. You do need to be over 21, present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also visit my friends at Concordville Subaru. Awesome dealership. They do so much great work in the community, and it continues to this day. November's a great time to visit Concordville Subaru. Check out the beautiful showroom of Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out the service department where you get a free car wash with every visit. It is a fantastic dealership. You can see the certified pre-owned inventory there and a list of incoming Subaru vehicles. And like I said, it's a great dealership, more than a dealership, great service department with a free car wash at every visit. So visit ConcordvilleSubaru.com online and check out the showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember that Concordville cares. All right, we're back Wednesday. Another brand new episode of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy your hockey. And we'll talk to you coming up in a couple of days.